Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. How are y'all today? Alright, so my webcam setup wanted to have the writing pad and the logic between two screens, but unfortunately the surface doesn't have enough resources, so the previous streaming have to do the writing. So okay, today's topic is last topic. So this have well, it wasn't really a question, it was just a request to share on this practice. Yeah, it's a practice that is done in the Buddhist tradition. Let me see, last week. Yeah, as I recall, it is on sharing merits. Yeah, so usually at the end of the practice, yeah, like let's say after SGC, after the let's say a retreat, after a puja, then we'll do sharing of merits or dedication of merits. In Chinese, let me just write down. Let me try to do it down in Chinese. 回向. In Chinese, is known as 回向. 回向. Read this. 是传间回. So or is it the 相? Yeah. So today I will share a bit on what 回向 is, or sharing of merits is, and some of the so what are the implications and all names of questions. You can also ask your questions while I am sharing. So after that, reply to your questions. Singaporeans tend to not ask questions. Okay, so firstly, the terms to it can be sharing merits, can be dedication of merits. Yeah. So first of all, what is considered merits? Yeah, what is considered merits? Usually we say 回向功德, 功德. Look at the Chinese writing. How do I and activate Chinese. Zhi Zai Miao Ying join in. I noticed that there may be some, because this is online, so there may be some who actually don't really understand Mandarin, English. 想要了解一下，就是现在上网的同学们哈，有没有就是对英语授课比较有，就是说困难的，需要用华语的吗？有需要华语的吗 ？Also cannot hear properly. Oh. Then how? Can 可以听得到吗 ？Can you all hear me? I will just continue. So if you all cannot hear, you all must highlight to me. So merits. So what is merits? What is merits? Yeah. Let me try to bear with it. Otherwise I'll have to reconnect again. Yeah. And my late teacher, Sangmao Xiajing he explained 功德有功有德 Yeah, so yeah, so our cultivation of wholesome practices 我们修那个善法 Then 德是那个果 yeah, so the 德 is the result, the virtue, the you know the results yeah, after the cultivation. So together it is basic value yeah, value to ourselves, value to others. So usually we say 回向功德有没有说回向福报的Yeah, usually we say 回向功德Yeah, so but these two very closely tied, very closely tied. So when we say 回向功德 I've mentioned before about this topic. So first of all, in order to 回向 you must first merit. You can't just have no merit and then to share merit. So to speak. Yeah. In order to do that, then we say we do some wholesome cultivation. So in order to 回向 you need to have the 功德 yeah. So then what are the practices? We can do the practices such as 戒定慧三学 or we can 修六度布施持戒忍辱精进定般若 yeah, we can practice the three practices sila samadhi panya yeah, the practice of morality, the precepts, practice the of quietude yeah, samadhi. We can practice the development of wisdom yeah. Then we can do dedication. We can also practice starting from giving separate, and then energy, and again. Anytime we do wholesome practices, we can so pretty straightforward. If we look at the dedication verse that we recited earlier, sharing merits. Earlier we do the puja, we may do the puja. Page 14, we have the sharing merits. So over here, may the merit gain in my acting thus. So there must be some action that has merits. Alleviate the suffering of all beings. So it is having this wish that may the results of our cultivation alleviate the suffering of, not just our friends, not people that we like, not just people we like, but all beings. Alleviate their suffering. Then beyond that, my personality throughout my existences, my possessions and my merit in all three ways. So basically our existence itself also dedicate, and that which we possess also dedicate. Wow, this is actually quite high. And then the results of our action also dedicate. Actually this dedication that we recite is very meaningful. When we do dedication, we usually tend to think of dedicating something, some positive energy or something positive to others. But here, dedicating ourselves. Dedicating ourselves and whatever we possess, including our merit. That means the results of our action, to the alleviation of all suffering. And attitude do we have? I give up without regard to myself for the benefit of all beings. So to think about how if we have a consideration for ourselves, that means there's attachment to the ego, attachment to the self, then maybe we give things that we don't consider to be part of us, we can give it away. We can dedicate to the well-being of others. But things that is close to our heart, this one cannot. Here, when we must go beyond that. We must go beyond attachment to ourself, attachment to our possessions, and even to the point of attachment to our merits. Very, very beautiful dedication here. The next part of the verse is actually the traditional Anumodana, which is the common dedication that is recited in the Theravadan tradition. And it's basically, the gist of it is inviting beings to come and rejoice in whatever good that we have done. To invite them to come and rejoice in it. So this is where, when we say dedication of merits, there are a few levels of it we can consider. One level is, let's consider the usual idea that people have. The usual idea is we do something good and then we give it to others, similar to what we have discussed earlier. So you go and do a lot of charity and then you dedicate the results to that person, or you transference of merits. Now sometimes we use the term transference of merits. So it's as though you can do something wholesome and then transfer the results to that person. That means you don't get results, that person get results. In other words, 自作他受. 自作他受. Can you understand? But if it's 自作 how that we just no our that we can and others get it actually may not be very accurate. I've actually mentioned many classes, including during some Dhamma talk, puja, or the retreat at the Buddhist as well. So the thing is, sometimes for some people, when you tell them that it's not like that, they cannot understand. Yeah. But I want you all to think about something very, very straightforward. The Buddha has a lot of merits, right? So the Bodhisattvas and the Arhants also have a lot of merits, right? So if it can be transferred, without any involvement the recipient part, then the Buddha should just, transfer all, like maybe not all, maybe 90% of his merits he transfer to all, and because of that act, he would gain even more merits, and then he can just continue transferring. In that case, then he shouldn't have to teach us how to cultivate merits, isn't it? Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. So, rightly speaking, we cannot technically transfer merits directly. Yeah. Dedication of merits is more that we dedicate. In other words, we determine how to use this merit. So when we say we dedicate this merit to all sentient beings, or to this loved one or that loved one, or so on, we are saying when this merit ripen, we're going to use it in this way to benefit so and so, or this group of beings, or all sentient beings. Yeah. So the way I understand it is, it's more like, you go to work, you get paid, right? And then before you get your pay, you think, first month, with my first month pay, I want to parents out for dinner. So parents go and but you have to get the pay. Yeah, but you use the pay to benefit your parents. But can your parents benefit? That's a big question. Maybe so you want to buy them dinner, they don't like, or you're vegetarian, they are non-vegetarian, so when you buy dinner, they are not happy also, so they cannot benefit from the merit also. So another type of so dedication of merits, this one where it's like putting a post-it note. Yeah, when you plant a seed, then you put a post-it note, so that when it ripens, the post-it note come together, and then it's a mental determination. So it's a mental post-it note. Yeah, and when it ripens, then you have that what you call that? You can call it impulse. You can say you have that inclination to go and use it in this way. It depends on whether you ultimately fulfill it. But planting that seed plants that inclination. But another level is the rejoicing of merits. So we invite beings to rejoice in what we have done. Doing that, the mere rejoicing of merits themselves. So we can call this inducement of merits. Yeah. they on their own. Yeah. So, singing. Anyone else getting intermittent audio? Seems like the audio is intermittent today, huh? Yeah, the difference is I'm using place to do the recording. Previously I was using a handphone, so seems like the handphone, is more optimized. Okay, I'm going to restart, okay? Okay, so we are back. Is this better? Now seems great. Way better. Okay. So I guess the handphone is just, the whole thing is just more optimized on the, well, mine is a very old surface, so yeah, so I don't know how much you all managed to get in the earlier stream, but basically we were discussing on the sharing of merits. Yeah. So the first level is that when we do something wholesome, and then we make a determination to use it in a certain way to benefit others. Second way is, after we have done something wholesome, we invite others to rejoice in the meritorious deeds, and by doing that, their rejoicing generates merits on their own. So yeah, so that's what dedication of merits is. And then just now I also went through the text that we go through, the dedication of merits. In the various traditions, there are different verses as well that we use for dedication of merits. So for example, the one that we usually recite at the end, 愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。So that is also dedication of merits. Yeah. So the opening verse, 愿消三障诸烦恼, that's an implicit reference to the merits. So with the practices that we have done, then what do we want to do with it? 愿消三障诸烦恼. That we wish to dedicate the merits to the eradication of the three types of obstacles, or the various defilements. So this 三障, the three obstacles, 障碍, the three kinds of obstructions or obstacles. In the 慈悲道场水忏, commonly known as the water repentance 水忏, in the 序文, there's a verse, 欲灭三障者，应当何等心？应当起七种。So in the preface verse, for the water repentance, we talk about how our cyclical existence throughout samsara is wrought with all kinds of sufferings. So, but all this can be categorized into three types. The first is 烦恼. Second is 业. Then third is 艺熟 or 果报. So the first one, 烦恼, the defilements. So it refers to how our being unenlightened, we are motivated, we are clouded by defilements, greed, hatred, delusion being the three primary. So 贪嗔痴烦恼, 根本烦恼. 贪嗔痴慢疑恶见, so 六根本. So there's the three roots of evil, and then the three primary or six primary, and a variety of secondary defilements. So This is the first category. So when defilements arise, then we suffer. Second category is driven by defilements, then we act in unwholesome ways, or ye. Yeah. So we act in all kinds of unwholesome ways, and through this we suffer. Then the third is when the actions ripen into results. Then there's suffering also. Now, and all these three categories, so all these three categories can obstruct us from learning and cultivating wholesome Dharma. The lower being the cultivation of what we call 人天善法. So the cultivation of 法源法师吉祥. So I just see 法源法师 come online. 如果恐有错误，请多指示。So 人天善法. So that's the first category. So that means the practice of the five, the taking of refuge, then practice of the 5 precepts and 10 wholesome deeds. This leads to human and rebirth results, heavenly results, or 观如法师吉祥. So these two, what we call 人天善法, and earlier 普真法师. So if we are overcome by the 3 categories earlier that we mentioned, so we have the 烦恼、业还有果报. These 3 categories can obstruct us. That's the first level. The next level is 出世间. So 人天善法 we can be obstructed, but even higher, of course, that will be obstructed also. Meaning that the cultivation of 戒定慧, what we mentioned earlier, sila, samadhi, and panya, leading all the way up to 四禅八定 and beyond, even attainment of enlightenment. So these 3 categories, 烦恼、业、果报, also known as 祸业苦, these 3 can obstruct us to cultivate the 人天善法还有出世间法, and hence 名为障. So when we recite the opening verse, 愿消三障, it's referring to that we have done wholesome deeds, and now we want to dedicate it to eradication of these 3 categories, that can obstruct us. In other words, we want to dedicate it to removing of our defilements, of our clouded state, and so that we don't do stupid things again, and we don't get reborn in realms that is unconducive for us to learn and practice the wholesome Dharma. Each of these verses itself can be a very long talk, so I'm just going to go through in brief, and you all can ask questions. Okay, so 愿消三障诸烦恼, that with these merits, may we aspire or vow to eradicate all the obstructions, all the 3 obstructions or obstacles, the defilements. So this is in a way more towards ourselves. Then 愿得智慧真明了. So the first category is just dedicating the merits. Second category, with the merits, we want to not just do eradication but cultivate wisdom. Because when we have wisdom, then we can truly put an end to the defilements. Defilements arise, you stop it. But if you have wisdom, then defilements don't arise at all. That's a long-term goal. So first category, then second verse, first verse, second verse. 愿得智慧真明了. Then may we aspire to attain to the wisdom that is clear and penetrating. So this first 2 verse, in a way, is still more directed to ourselves, Then the third and fourth verse. Third verse, 普愿罪障悉消除. Yeah, here not just to ourselves. 普愿罪障悉消除. We can say that this extends to all sentient beings. That may we universally seek to eradicate all obstacles and unwholesome deeds. Yeah, 罪障普愿罪障悉消除. Not just towards ourselves, but universally. Yeah, and then so if you compare the first level, just stopping as it is, then the second verse, to cultivate wisdom so that we remove the roots, and then the third line, not just for ourselves but also to seek to help others to do that. Not so easy, becoming harder and harder. Then the fourth verse, 世事常行菩萨道. Yeah, so the practices above is known as what a bodhisattva would do. So do you do it just for one day, 1 month, 1 year, or one life? No. Life after life. You dedicate yourself to doing this life after life. Purifying yourself, purifying your body, speech and mind, purifying your practices, leading up to perfect enlightenment, and then seeking the purification of sentient beings also. And to do this life after life, life after life. Yeah. Now, so this is one of the common dedication we use in the Chinese Mahayana tradition. Similar verses are also found in other traditions. Some students ask me, so which verse should we use? Yeah. Some students think, should we use this particular dedication or that particular dedication? I think they are all good. I'm not trying to be politically correct, but I really feel that way. Because over the years, since my teens, or even since when I was a child, I've learned a lot of different types of dedication. Like even for Chinese Mahayana, there are at least 3 types that I know of, or 4 types. The other type that is quite common is 愿以此功德庄严佛净土，上报四重恩，下济三途苦。若有见闻者，悉发菩提心，尽此一报身，同生极乐国。So this is usually common in the Pure Land tradition. Yeah, and then there's another one. 愿以此功德普及于一切，我等你众生皆共成佛道。Now, if you compare all the different dedication, they are all similar in some ways. Yeah, it always starts off with self-purification, and then seeking the same for others. 自利利他. It is never, how do I put it? In the Buddhist tradition, when we do dedication, it is not simply, you all don't have to do anything, I come and do it for you. Or I don't have to do it, you all go and do it. No. It's always we do it first. We purify ourselves first. We solve our problem first. Then we help others, show them how to solve their problem. So 自利利他, benefit oneself, then others. So this is the sharing of merits. Okay. Today has been quite interesting. So I've been wanting to do a trial, a test of the devices. Maybe after this, not today, maybe tomorrow or something. If those of you who are free, we can do a trial. Test out the setup, because seems like the resource requirement is quite high. Okay, any questions that you all have? You all can ask your questions now. Singip asked a question. Why is it in Chinese there's a difference between 功德 and 福报? Well, actually, in other traditions or in the Pali language, I believe there is also a difference. Yeah. But from what I know, it's just that when we do dedication, we usually dedicate marriage, right? So why is there a difference? From what I know, when we say 福报, right, usually it refers to the worldly wholesome merits that results in, let's say, the rebirth cycle. Yeah. And whereas when we say 功德, it's usually more linked towards the 出世间法. Yeah. But when we do translation, we found that sometimes different lineages, they vary when they use these terms. Yeah. But not in other languages. Well, there are many terms. There are some terms that in English they only use one term. Then in Chinese they use other terms. Yeah. If we will dedicate merits to someone, will that person receive 100% of the merits? So Lok John asked this question. So if we look at what we have discussed, what we have shared earlier, we are not simply transferring wholesale, like if imagine this tissue is your merit, okay? It's not like you just give this tissue paper to that person. It's not just you just cultivate, get the merit, and then just give you, take. Not exactly like that. So in the, I think 地藏经 it says that 王者3分，那个阳者7分啊。So yeah, so even in the sutra it doesn't say that the deceased, those who have passed away, will receive 100%. We must know that the first thing when we do cultivation and we do dedication, the first person we change is actually ourselves. Yeah. So yeah, it has to do with that. Yeah, so but I want to go back to Singip's question about the difference. Why is there a difference in Chinese? Because, well, Chinese have a lot of, the way Chinese translate, when we were going through the translations, we found that there are a lot of different angles. What is that? In some cases, different terms were translated using the same term in Chinese. In some cases, the same term translated slightly differently in different suttas, in different translations. Yeah, so it has to do with the way they approach the translation itself. 回向冤亲债主，what is this? Nikki Chang Smith.回向冤亲债主，愿以此所诵地藏经第几部等等等。 Why this particular can only be used for 回向冤亲债主? Nikki Chang, what you have pasted, I don't know the source. You may have to ask the person who come up with this. But I don't think this verse is particular for 冤亲债主. You understand? Yeah. So I don't think this is specific to 冤亲债主. Okay, slowly now suddenly warm up already, then everybody start throwing in all the questions. Let me just open up so that I can see all the questions. I can't seem to see all questions for some reason. How come? I only see the latest questions. Some of the questions are being scrolled off. I'm gonna try and answer them in order. So Nikki Chang's question on the verse, and when I reply to your question, I need you all to respond so I know that we are done with it, then I will move on. If you don't reply, I'll just move on as well. So if you need more clarification, you need to write in the comments. So as far as I'm concerned, this verse number 1, I don't think this is directly from the sutra. Yeah, I don't think 地藏经 directly have this 回向文. So if you the first question is you need to find out whether the group or the person who compiled this dedication verse, whether they highlight specifically that this is only for 回向冤亲债主, which I don't think so. I think most of the 回向文 can be directed to whether it's 冤亲债主 or can be to a person or all sentient beings and so on. Okay, yeah. So your question, why this particular, I presume you are referring, this particular dedication can only be used for 回向冤亲债主. I don't think so. Yeah, but because I didn't write it, so, and I don't think this is from the sutra, so you may need to verify with the person or the group that wrote this. Yeah, because the opening verse 回向冤亲债主, you can just replace with 回向一切众生 or 回向父母亲 and so on. Yeah. Why is the difference from the below that we don't have to 注此回向文是专门的，不用于做其他的回向，回向后再为冤亲债主。The following verse right at the end is the standard verse that we use when we administer refuge. So that's more the 三皈依 itself. Yeah. So I don't know whether that answers your question. Okay, Alison asks, is 超度 a form of sharing merits? So 超度, strictly speaking, is supposed to be that for beings who are able to connect with the Dharma, and in so doing have spontaneous rebirth in other realms. So usually this works for from what the sutras seem to say, more for those who are in the hungry ghost realms. Yeah, hell realm is possible. Yeah, 地藏经 it says that地藏菩萨 will go and try to help the hell beings, but not so easy. In Buddhism, we don't have this notion that the enlightened beings such as the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas, the Arahant, we don't have the notion that these enlightened beings have the absolute power to make things happen. We don't have this notion. Some people think that Buddhism have, but I haven't seen any sutra that says that. Yeah. Because if that is possible, then the Buddha can just place one manifestation in hell and spontaneously just liberate beings from hell perpetually. Then no need to cultivate also. Isn't that right? Yeah. So we don't see such evidence of Cao Tu. Not that anyone is saying that, but sometimes people have this wrong idea. So in the sutra, when we say Cao Tu, it is that when usually when we say the Cao Tu Fa Hui, there is different parts of it, and usually there is the opening verse, which is invitation of the triple gem, homage to the triple gem, and then after that repentance. Yeah, and in the repentance sometimes there's listing of all the different evil and wholesome deeds that is possible. Doesn't mean that we all have done it in this life, but we may potentially have done it in the past, and beings in hell must have done something not so good. So by listing that out, it is not to guilt trip anyone, but it's to highlight this is the cause of such rebirth. And the first step to disconnecting from that karma is to recognize that it's wrong. Yeah. In Buddhism, repentance is not simply Buddha forgiving us and then write off, but it's the person who did it. We ourselves must recognize that it's wrong. This is the first step, and this plants a new seed, yeah, that goes against that earlier karma, such that when it's ripening or when it has ripened, you don't connect with it anymore. Yeah. So, but the trouble is, our habitual tendency is oftentimes very strong. Now we may think, oh, but how do we know that? Well, we just look at ourselves in this life. Sometimes, I mean, we are having human rebirth, yeah. But sometimes when our impulse, our mindset is so strong, no matter what other people tell us, we cannot accept, yeah. And in our emotions or our view, we are stuck in it until maybe at some point when we have a realization, and then we disconnect from that mindset, and then we like almost instantly like, my goodness, what am I doing? So in a way, Cao Tu works like that. So, but not so easy. Yeah. I recall a Dhamma brother ever shared with us that in the sutra, that when Tizang Pusa or any of the Bodhisattvas try to help sentient beings in hell or in other realms, they don't appear there and then just pull them out. No, they appear as a hell being also, and they willingly take on the suffering of those hell beings. The hell beings get punished, they go and receive the blow. Yeah, and after don't know how many times, then finally that hell being get in a way get touched and connect with that wholesomeness. Yeah, maybe you have a thought of gratitude, have a thought of compassion also. Yeah, feel that compassion, so can have compassion. Yeah, and when it connects strong enough, spontaneous rebirth in other place. But in the sutta, it also says that right after that, Bodhisattva turned around, the hell being is back. They say, what are you doing here? I thought I just, I just help you. You just get reborn elsewhere. They say, after being reborn, my habitual tendency is too strong, so I do stupid things and come back again. So not so easy. So when we say Cao Tu, is Cao Tu a form of sharing merits? In a way, yes. Yeah. So part of the process is as we do all this, and then there's usually a Hui Xiang also. So we are hoping that we are dedicating this, whatever practices we do, to benefit these beings. Yeah. But it still requires these beings to connect with the wholesome Dharma. If they don't connect, nobody have the ability to simply pluck sentient beings out of hell or from hungry ghost realms. If there's anyone who can do that, Buddha should be able to do that, but he didn't do that. Nothing about it. He didn't just magically pluck people out of the suffering. He can only inspire people to change their mindset, guide people through the teachings. Yan Gong. This is getting quite far. So Yan Gong is found in the Mahayana tradition, both mainly in the Mi Jiao. Yeah. So from what I know, this Yan Gong to some extent has basis in some of the teachings where it talk about how beings in certain realms they consume the smell. So then when they do the offering, they are burning the things to offer the scent. Yeah. So Yan Gong itself, strictly speaking, is not simply sharing merits, but if we do it with the right mindset, with a wholesome mindset, then it's a wholesome practice, then we can do dedication. Yeah, I would go further to say, even when you hold the lift, you can do dedication. Even when you go to work, don't go to work just to get paid. If you go to work just to get paid, then you are a worker. Yeah, and all you get is your pay. If you go to work with the mindset, how can I serve my fellow colleagues today? How can I serve my customer as fellow sentient beings? How can I relieve them of their stress? Not just people in tech support. But you think about it, all kinds of work is basically transforming problems. Either you can solve the problem of your customers directly, or you transform it to something else. So for example, when you take Grab, you need to travel from point A to point B. So you have this so-called problem, and then the service provider, the driver, the Grab driver, transform your problem into a solution. He solved your problem, in other words. But by solving the problem, he has other problem. He has to, in a way, maintain the car. He has to know how to drive. So he needs to solve those problems in order to solve your problem. So work is all about solving people's problem. But if we do that with the mindset, I solve to get money, then we are worker. But if you do it with a mindset, I solve people's problem in order to relieve them of suffering, then you are Bodhisattva. Depending on how your mindset and how much attachment you have. So if then in that case, then you can also dedicate merits. Let's see. 佛家说因果 佛陀说因果嘛，但很多时候因果关系并不明确，善因不见得一定出善果，恶因不见得一定得恶果，只因缘分未足，尤其当知道各是因果，我们凡夫根本不可能知道前世种种，以致今世种种。那我们要如何以这不明确的因果关系去说服世人，证明因果关系的存在呢？Yeah, so this Chu Chou Fu asked this question about karma. This is a bit off topic already. Let me answer other questions on the subject matter, sharing of merits. The more 回向 you do, the more 福报 you get. Short answer, yes. Let me see. Okay, so I'm going to just answer in brief the last question that popped up, Cho Chu Fu question on if we do not know clearly how the past life and future life workings of karma, then how can we convince others of karma? Because it pertains to what seem to be an inconstancy, disparity between the causality, that good deeds don't seem to get happy results, bad deeds don't seem to have painful results. First of all, it is true that without the full knowledge, we are not clear. That's why in the past few weeks, I think in some classes before, I have highlighted that whenever students ask me, 师父, is this due to karma? Is this due to 因果? 这个是因果? I say, I don't know. Yeah, because unless you can see the workings of karma from past life to present life and even to future life, otherwise you really don't know. But when we learn karma, the purpose is not to 说服世人. Yeah, I don't know about you, okay? Whether it's Chu Chou Fu or anybody else, I don't know the purpose you all have to learn about the teaching on karma. What I know is when the Buddha teach the teaching of karma, he was firstly teaching what he observed. Secondly, it was to teach us that there are a few parts. Karma is part of the teaching of conditionality, or what we also call causality, that with A as a condition, then B arise. If you want B, you must not have A. So it's also about the teaching on personal responsibility, that you are responsible for your results. Yeah, like in the Dhammapada, the verses on karma, the Buddha highlight that just now I mentioned, as we sow, so as we reap. That the fruits of an evildoer follows a person, or the karma, the results, the fruits follow the doer, like the wheel follow the cow, like the shadow following a person. Yeah. So with that in mind, it's better if we learn about the teaching on karma to get us to be more aware of our actions. Now, yeah, there are those who don't believe in karma. Yeah, my job is not to convince them that there's karma.
So it's just like people ask me, so is there rebirth? I say, yeah, from what I have experienced, I believe that there's rebirth. Say, but can you prove to me? I say, I can't prove to you. And I'm not interested to prove to anyone. In fact, there are people who don't believe in karma or don't believe in rebirth. And I'm like, okay, so how does that affect your life? To me, that's more important. Because there are people who say that they believe in rebirth, believe in karma, but they continue to live their life like everybody else, doing whatever they please, acting according to their whims and fancy, according to their desire, according to greed, hatred, and delusion. Yeah, I mean, we are all, trying to change and improve and purify. Yeah, but is our direction correct? To me, that's more important. So, let me see. Let me make sure I don't miss out any questions. So, the thing about how to convince people, I would strongly suggest that we don't spend our time trying to convince people. Yeah. We ourselves have to be convinced first of all. Yeah. But even more importantly, think about it this way. As far as causality is concerned, I think there's no one who can refute that. That you do something, there are results. The trouble is when we have limited knowledge, then we don't see the full extent of the results or the cause. Yeah. So we tend to then have viewpoint, like windowed view of things, right? That tunnel vision, and we don't see the full implications. Yeah. Do you think Venerable Puchen asked, do you think it's necessary to believe in rebirth to have a good practice? I think it's helpful, but I think it still depends on individual. As I said, there are people who claim to believe in rebirth, but it doesn't translate to a change in their actions. Yeah, or at least doesn't translate to a wish to change their action. Yeah. So I think it is helpful. Yeah. But as in many things in Buddhism, it is not so much simply a belief or non-belief. Yeah. But the result of that belief or not. So yes, is Fu your surname or Chu your surname? Chu Chou or Chou Fu? Yeah, I'm glad you stopped trying to convince your friend as well. Yeah. A way to convince people of the Dharma is by practicing it ourselves. I'm not a very good example. Yeah. There are a lot of high monks out there who can be your inspiration. Yeah, I'm an unenlightened monk. So, Chu is your surname. Okay. So Chou Fu. Okay. I know a lot of you have warmed up and have a lot of questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up because I have overshot time. I started late because I was trying to do some setup. So please, for those who just joined in and you missed the front part, you can rewind later and watch from the start. And if you have questions, you can post it here. If you have topics that is beyond today's topic, sharing of merits, you can write it down and then I will address it next week. Alright? So let's do dedication of merits. 愿消三障诸烦恼 愿得智慧证明了，普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛，起立。